I could be sad, but I don't know if you guys heard. Diana Taurasi and Brittney Griner were back in PHX Arena tonight, so I can't be, even though the Mercury lost. All that and more after this quick intro. PHNX Mercury fam, I'm your host, Eric Lee Day. Welcome back to the PHNX Mercury podcast, post-game edition. I know this is probably supposed to be like a more solace intro because Mercury did just lose by 11 points to the Atlanta Dream, but honestly, I'm not really feeling like I should be in a very pessimistic mood. The Mercury are 15-8. Kevin, our lovely producer, asked if the world was over, the sky was falling, if we should be worried on planet Mercury, and the answer is no.
I thought this was a safe space.
It is a safe space, Kevin.
I'm not worried about the Mercury. Never that.
I won't lie. When the Mercury were not holding the Dream to under 20 points in that first quarter, I was worried. The recipe for the Mercury winning basketball games has historically been holding their opponents to under 20 points per quarter. And in that first quarter, the Mercury gave up 26 points to the Atlanta Dream and only scored 17 herself. It's definitely terrible. I'm not even going to lie. It was a terrible quarter of basketball for the Mercury. Steven is going to be joining us live from PHX Arena here shortly, and he's going to have some post-game clips from not only Nate Tibbetts, but also some players. Talking about their slow starts in that first quarter. But before Steven gets here, I do want to talk about the fact that Diana Taurasi was in the building. It was BG's return to Phoenix. It was her first time in a Dream jersey in PHX Arena. It felt just as weird as you might think. If you guys were in the we're at the game tonight, please tap in the comments and let me know how weird you felt it was to see BG playing for an opposing team in PHX Arena. But Diana Taurasi was there to support, and she was sitting with her wife Penny Taylor, who's a Mercury Ring of Honor member, as well as and champion. Let me just not negate that, and champion. And she was sitting with Vince Kozar, the president of the Phoenix Mercury, which in the pregame press conference with Brittney Griner, she was asked who she misses the most in Phoenix, and it was Vince Kozar, which I think is very interesting and funny, the president of the Mercury. And so, yeah, it was, I will say, although the Mercury lost, like the vibes were up. There were 11,000 people on a Wednesday evening in PHX Arena, and it felt lit. I've been looking at the wrong camera since we started streaming.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's I'm a little rusty, you guys, and we'll get to that at the end of this episode, so stick around. But yeah, less laughing, Kevin, and more doing production things. I don't know.
It was just the rust, you know what I mean?
It was,
because I was also making graphics for this show, and I realized I don't even know where my files are. I myself am rusty, so that's what the ha hee hee giggles were for.
Did the keys get posted today? I would love to know what Steven's keys were for the game today.
His key, I can tell you what his keys were. He sends them to me. The keys to the game today were crash the glass collectively, half court tempo, and take away the 3-point line.
Oh, well, let me just tell you right now. The Atlanta Dream, they out-rebounded the Mercury 36-32, but it felt like 1,000-10 is what it felt like when you were watching the basketball game. And interestingly enough, I talk a lot of smack about, honestly, last season with BG and her rebounding was tough, like to watch sometimes, but she got 8 rebounds today, and like it felt like they were all just like a ha F you Mercury. And every time she got a good little basket, she was sure to give the Mercury bench a little shimmy, which I thought was fun. I thought the vibes were up in the arena, which all in all, with BG and DT, how can they be down? On the same note, and I'm sorry, Kevin just changed the little thingy there. You don't have to change it back, but with DT's return, man, they just acted like suddenly the Mercury are going to get assessed a gazillion techs a game again. And I'm like, is the ghost of DT's past here to haunt us? Because, man, she just walked in the building. She's not suiting up. And yet, here they are just smashing these technicals. One to Dewana Bonner, one to Alyssa Thomas. Not really my favorite thing in the entire planet of the earth, but at the same time, like, it is what it is. Yeah, Joel Pretty in the comments says Mercury was doing a lot of one and done, no rebounds. That's exactly what it felt like when you were watching the game. Steven and I, over the last year and a half, we've talked a lot about the closing out of the defensive possessions, and that is getting the rebound. And they just honestly weren't able to do that. And their lack of O boards were like, it hurt. The Mercury had 5, I guess, compared to the Dreams 4, I guess it's not that crazy, but Nate for you in the chat says, you get a tech, you get a tech, you get a tech. That's certainly how it felt in today's game. But nonetheless, it was only 2 technicals. Those techs were great. Homage to the GOAT that was in attendance for today's game. So can't be too mad at it, but Steven and I have also talked at great lengths about Big Al, not little, big Allisha Gray of the Atlanta Dream. I believe she's 3rd in the league in scoring right now, but tonight she had 28 points, 7 rebounds and 6 assists for the Dream. And being that they were out they were playing without Rhyne Howard, they really need Big Al to do what Big Al's been doing, which is scoring the freaking basketball. I should look to see what she did last night versus the Las Vegas Aces, because the Dream are coming off of a back-to-back, which I was telling Kevin in our pregame, preparation for this. Shout out to WNBA statistics on TikTok. That's my girl. I love her, Maddie. If you're watching, love you so much. But she was talking about the stats show that it's actually easier for teams to win on the second half of back-to-backs. So that's an interesting little snippet there. Yeah, Transonic 8. Mercury could not hit any shots. The Mercury shot a whopping 38% from the field, which versus the Dreams 50% from the field was just never going to be good enough. But Big Al's 28 points definitely carried the way. BG was 2nd in scoring for them with 17 points. That's a combined 45 points between their 2 leading scorers tonight. And then she also had 8 rebounds and assists. And that's actually it on box score for BG. But in terms of the Mercury, Satsu Sabally and Kalia Copper were both back in the game for the Mercury tonight, as well as Lexi Held. Shout out to bench Lexi. Although, obviously her role might change a little bit considering the big 3 are fully back. But the big 3 are still on minutes restrictions. I'm sure, honestly, all the way around for all 3 of them. Nate Tibbetts brought up the fact that they're going to play 8 games in the next 16 days, I believe, starting with their game on Friday. And that's quite a bit of games. And not to call any of the Mercury players old. That's not at all I'm saying. But, they are a little bit older on the spectrum. So they do need a little bit of rest. So I do understand, the little rest being needed in events like this where you're going to play so many games in such a short amount of time. And WNBA, I am looking at you in regards to scheduling issues, because what the heck is 8 games in 16 days? But Satsu Sabally led the way for the Mercury with 13 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist. And, Kalia Copper also having 1 rebound. Sammy Whitcomb, who's an excellent rebounding guard, she only had 1 rebound as well. That's 3 rebounds between 3 starters. And then Catherine Westbeld with 2, and then AT's trying to carry the load with 11 rebounds. It's really tough, for those players to try to get it done on the glass like that. So Matt came in and did her thing with 7 boards, which definitely did help the Mercury out. And it was definitely a noticeable shift in dynamic once Mac stepped onto the floor for them. But I thought that, the starters really needed to be doing more in terms of rebounding the basketball tonight. But then Sammy Whitcomb, while she was one of the main players trying to, will the Mercury to, a tie or victory at the end of the game, she only had 11 points, and 6 of them came in the last 2.5 minutes. Kalia Copper with 10 points. Dewana Bonner with 18 points, though, and that's on 5 for 11 shooting, 2 rebounds, and assists, and a block. And that block came at a pristine time when it felt like the Mercury just could not get a stop. Dewana Bonner was able to do so, which at the time felt like it was really, really necessary for the Mercury to even stay in the game. And to Joel's comment in the chat, is, and Nate Tibbetts talked about this in the pregame today. Kalia Copper is a rhythm player. She always has been in college when she was in Chicago, and now when she's here in Phoenix, she is a rhythm player. And so it's going to take Kalia Copper time to get back to the level of playing that we saw last season here in Phoenix. But I think we saw flashes of that tonight, and I think there were a few different times where if the ball just bounces a little bit of a different way, it changes her entire stat line tonight, and it honestly changes her entire confidence and outlook of the evening. Kalia is definitely one of those players that, like, she feeds off the crowd and she feeds off herself and her own energy, and so when she's not playing well, it kind of spirals from there, I feel like. So yeah, that play stole all the momentum. Yeah, it definitely was tough. And in the third quarter, when Kalia traveled and it turned into a turnover, it was a tough night for Kalia. But I don't think that it's any reason to panic. This was the Big Three's first game playing together, I believe, in 5 games, and there was an All-Star break. All-Star hangover is real, and considering Alyssa Thomas is the only one that actually played over the weekend, the rest of them were still practicing, I'm sure, but, it's definitely a different vibe when you're practicing versus your own players versus playing a basketball game versus a team as good as the Dream. And, Steven's going to be here in a few minutes, and he's going to, I'm sure, give us all the reasons that we shouldn't panic, but the Dream is a really good team, and they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to probably rob somebody pretty good of a chance of staying in the playoffs. And so, the Dream have all the pieces that they need. And even without Rhyne Howard, it's still a team of shooters. And to Nate's point in the chat, like, it is rust. Rust happens. Ask myself at the beginning of the episode when I forgot how to talk for a few minutes, it's tough, So they forgot how to play basketball for a few minutes. I forgot to talk. It happens to the best of us in the game, Kevin.
Erica.
This was your first time back with the Mercury in a while. At least my first time back with you and also the Mercury. And you are also here. That didn't make any sense. Well, it was...
it did make sense, yeah.
It made sense to you, which is all that really matters. What was your big takeaway from tonight's game?
That the Mercury are still an elite level team in the W, and that things are going to be okay. You do wish that some of these kinks could be ironed out potentially a little bit sooner so that you can have more consistent high-level play and you can just rack up all the W's you want. I mean, you and I are both Arizona Wildcat basketball fans, so we understand the expectations being high and, teams or fans of this team not wanting to see any losses specifically at home. But the Dream are a really good basketball team, and they've been able to catch a lot of, of a lot of teams at the top of the W this season. I was in attendance when they beat the Liberty in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. Like, this team is on fire right now. And Big Al, not the little one, we talked about it earlier. You and I were saying this during the game. So I don't know. I'm just not putting too much weight into this loss personally. But I do think that it was a disappointing game, a little bit of a letdown in the return of Erica Day.
I do agree in the return of Erica Day. It was definitely kind of disrespectful to my name, not going to lie. But that's okay. Nonetheless, I'll forgive them. Holmes in the comments makes a fantastic point that I had actually yet to bring up. I did mention the return of Kalia Copper and the return of Satu Sabally and the return of Lexi Eld, but I did not mention Monique Akomakani still being out on concussion protocol. And I think that this, kind of changes things in a lot of ways for the Mercury. Steven and I have talked at length about how specifically on the defensive end, like, Monique is really hard to deal with. And then she subs out and you get the Lexi Held treatment, which is almost worse. And so I think, and then on the offensive end, Monique, it does a lot for the team. She's been fantastic with Alyssa Thomas. She also has been able to score the ball in the mid-range from 3, anywhere she really wants on the court. She has one of the highest 3-point percentages in the league. Plus, in the clutch, she's better than 99.9% of players in the league right now. And so, Monique Komakani definitely changes things for this team. I think any player out of the starting 5 that has been a consistent starter being out for this team really, really matters right now. Nate talked about it in the pregame, how difficult it's been for him to get any sort of consistency in any lineups all season. It's been constantly changing. Last year, and it wasn't a good thing that BG broke her foot, but it was kind of like, okay, well, you can totally plan for one injury, and this team has been just a cycle of different injury after different injury after different injury. So I hope that by the playoffs that this team can, get healthy and be in a healthy enough position to where the big three and everyone around them can play their best basketball when it matters the most. You know, we've seen streaks of them being fantastic, epic, historically good basketball teams. And so I don't think that we've seen the last of that from the Mercury. I think we're going to continue to see that. I think even this Friday against a team like the Liberty, the Mercury have a very good chance to come out and completely change the way they look. You know, that first quarter really killed them. And so after that, it was tough to get back in the game. But I think, you know, hopefully Monique comes back from concussion protocol and that gives them a full squad again. I'd be so stoked. It would be the first time all season. So I think it's there's reason to be optimistic about where the Mercury are at right now. But to Kevin's point about the Dream being good, they are a good team and they shoot a high volume of threes that it's really hard to defend, and they play with two post players. They play inside out a lot more than most teams do. And if you watch the game tonight, you would see the Mercury defense really, really struggling and kind of collapsing inside when they probably shouldn't have been doing so. And I kind of joked with the person next to me, like, if Kalani Brown can't guard Bree Jones, then like we have a big issue, you know. But at the end of the day, that was kind of the defensive game plan, was for them to double the bigs. And so obviously the defensive game plan did not work out, and Nate Tibbetts and company will probably learn from that. If I know anything about Nate Tibbetts, he's going to go back to the drawing board, especially next time they play the Dream. Zoo Melton in the chat. My girl Chris, who, by the way, back from car accident, back from family issues, and Lord knows what else is going on. Me and Chris Melton both back in PHX Arena tonight. And so, you know, the loss was disrespectful on both of our names. But yes, Holmes is correct also. Holmes is just dropping good Tibbet after good Tibbet. Physicality against AT is rarely, if ever, called. Yeah, it's tough to be a fan of the Mercury specifically right now. It feels like foul calls don't really ever go the Mercury's way. I know that, like, probably most WNBA teams feel that way, but dang, like, it's tough sometimes. And so, yeah, if you're AT, especially, because she is a very physical player and it most times does not go her way. Be sure to leave a like. This is my first show back, and if you don't leave a like on this video, I'm probably going to cry about it tonight. Kevin's probably not going to sleep. I'm not going to cry. Well, wait. I am going to cry. So please like this video while you're here. I heard we have a Die Hard sale going on because it's spring training or training camp for Cardinals right now. Is that correct? That's what it's for, right?
Yes, $36.
$36 a year, man. Man, PHNX just keeps coming at you with good deals. So you can become a Die Hard and grab a Die Hard membership card. You can join our Die Hard halftime meetup session. You get in the Die Hard Discord lounge. Get a free t-shirt of your choosing. $36 a year. Doesn't sound like too bad of a deal if you ask me. It's like less than a cup of coffee a month, basically. So you need to get in there, become a Die Hard, and join us in the Die Hard Discord lounge, because it's literally one of the most fun places on the face of the planet Earth. You have me in the Mercury chat. You got Kevin in the Wildcat chat. A lot of people in the Suns chat that kind of scare me, but valid. You know, I would probably scare myself if I were a Suns fan too. So it's tough. I'm excited to get Steven in here because I have been yapping about this for long enough, and I feel like he's going to have some really good tidbits from postgame to share with us. But the offense did feel pretty disconnected tonight, which is not something I feel like I've been saying about this team since the beginning of the season. So I think it's tough. And yeah, Nate in the comments, likes and Die Hard memberships are required. I saw a sign tonight at the game, and actually two things about the game day atmosphere. I'm sorry. First one, PHX Arena implemented this new cool thing. Kevin, I want to know if you've heard of it. It's like a drink stand that you pour the drinks yourself.
What?
And then you pay for what you pour.
What?
So
this
like
sounds incredible.
You get to measure the amount, and it's like they have what is the word for a mixed tequila beverage?
A cocktail?
Sure. So I'm thinking about a margarita. They have margaritas on tap. They have like a bunch of different beers. I think a few different ciders. And then, yeah, you just pour it yourself. There's like a little attendant guy there. I don't mean to make him sound measly, but there's an attendant there.
He's attending to the alcohol.
Correct. And I just have questions about how the IDing works. I don't know if it's like an automated system. I don't know. It's just real strange. But Yeah, alcoholic beverages that you pour yourself and then you pay for yourself. It sounds like a good vibe to me. I'm not gonna lie.
This is at the game.
Inside the arena, literally in the concourse, and I was walking through pregame and I saw the guy like standing there setting it up, and I was like, what the heck is this? I've never seen you here, and I've never seen this stand a day in my life. And I come here quite frequently. And he said that it was brand new. It was actually first day in PHX Arena, which is super exciting. I would love to know what the pricing on that thing is. I might have to go to a Suns game and report back about the pricing because it's probably incredibly disgusting. So yeah, the pricing there is probably not fun.
But it sounds so convenient.
Right.
Like,
it sounds
great.
great.
Like the experience. You know the experience. You go to a game and you have to like, double fist a couple of tall boy
terrible.
beverages, and then you're like, okay, well I finished these two, and now I have to go struggle through all this again. If I could just pour my own, strong beverage, I'd be fine.
My main question is actually not really about the stand itself. It's, can you bring your own cup?
Probably not.
Like, if you are paying for what you pour, you should be able to decide what you pour.
Is it like how at some brand redacted gas stations on a certain day you can go in with any container?
See, that's what I'm thinking.
See, I think that would be unsafe for the average sports goer.
Well, but again, like, if you're paying for what you're getting, like, they can make the pricing absolutely ridiculous. And
people are gonna pay it too.
Right. I'm thinking about booking an event of some kind just so I can go try these, this drink situation. It looked fun. I felt left out. I was feeling FOMO about the people that were getting the opportunity to use the drinks situation. So yeah, Joel. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool. I told the guy I would give it a shout out on the freaking pod today, and here I am giving it a shout out on the freaking pod. I thought it was cool, and I think it is cool. And then the other thing is that there was a little kid. I shouldn't say little. He was probably like 10, 11. I don't know. And he was sitting right in front of the media row, and he had a sign that said, if you're reading this and you are not a Mercury fan, go home.
Right now, it said.
Right now. Leave right now. And I just thought that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, man, I love that we're teaching the kids early, You got to teach them how to love and hate, I
mean, this sounds stupid, I guess, but I love that. I mean, you're finding more passionate kids about the W.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it was a boy. It was a little boy.
Like little boys bringing signs to games saying, if you aren't screaming Mighty Mercury, I don't want to hear you screaming anything at all. And I think that's really dope.
Yeah, and Nate Tibbetts talked about the kids game and everything pregame today, and just how cool it is that the Mercury is very good at community engagement. And so, yeah. Ogre is correct in the comments, though. Buy a clear bag at the team shop, fill it with the marg, $250 margarita. Dude, they will never be poor again. Like, I never want to hear about, the second tax apron or whatever everybody talks about on the Sun show. Like, I don't know, but they need to figure out their money issue, and that machine seems like it can help.
Should they just rebrand the arena to whatever brand does that, like, vendor? Like, whatever vendor does that, should it just be that arena?
Fill your own cup arena.
BYOB arena?
Yeah, BYOC. Right.
Bring your own cup.
Light rail is a must if you use this machine.
That's what I was saying, Andy. Like, I don't know how safe this is for the average sports goer that isn't, a degenerate animal like myself,
Are you saying that you want to use the machine too, Kevin?
Yeah. I would. $250 is a bit rich for my blood, but I would definitely love to consume a marg of that size.
I feel like, though, if you brought the bag and you just poured it and it didn't give you any indication that it was going to be $250, would you even really be mad after it was done?
After it was done, I probably wouldn't be mad at anything in the world. But the next day when I woke up, I think I'd be really upset with not only the industry of whoever sold that to me, but also myself for making such a poor decision. But yeah.
Oh, man.
It would be great in the moment. I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't give a damn about anything until the morning.
Well, guys, we do have a takeover coming up. And, now that I've said that, I actually have no idea when it is. And so I should probably look about that real quick. 1 second.
The people in the chat are giving names for the arena related to drinks. Hawaiian Punch Arena. Rum and Coke Arena.
I love that.
Tequila Pineapple Arena?
Yeah, I was thinking vodka Red Bull Arena, Kevin's margaritas or rent. What's more important? I think for Kevin right now, probably rent, considering his living situation.
Yeah, see, I just moved in with my girlfriend, so but when I was living on my own, I could probably be like margaritas.
Oh,
but now there's other lives involved, you know?
Wait, takeover. Do you think I can find it by searching that?
I mean, people in the chat saying 822.
Oh, 822. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, yeah. And they're playing the Valkyries. That's literally less than a month away. And all I'm saying, guys, is that we could all use the machine together. So buy your tickets to the takeover right now. You get to come to the game with me and Steven, maybe Kevin if he so feels like blessing us with his presence. You get to go with Steven and Leah because I know that they got their ticket. Ogre is going to be there. I'm pretty sure Andy's going to be there. I'm 99.9999999% sure that Chris Melton will be there because if I ask Chris Melton to be there, she 99% of the time shows up. And the only time she doesn't is when she has a dire emergency. So, but yeah, the Mercury Die Hard takeover is always really fun. I would like to say that we have the best diehards in all of PHNX, and I really do mean that. We have the coolest group of people ever. Just look at all of them in the comments today. But yeah, Andy has a point. It could be a really fun time. Erica with Thundersticks, Tipsy Erica with Thundersticks could be a really enjoyable event if you are a fan of the show. See, Andy's got his tickets, so bring your rear end is what I'm saying. And Kevin, that's your point. Bring your rear end too. I'm just saying. Oh,
shout
wait.
out to everybody in the chat that knew the date off the top of their head though, because Erica knew the date, but she was just testing you guys to make sure that you already had your tickets.
Ogre has a great point.
Whoa!
Fill the Thundersticks. The Thundersticks do have a solid bottom, so you could do this in theory, and it comes with a straw. Would
it taste like balloon? I
don't care. Do you?
Yes.
Man.
Is that a crazy take for me to care if my margarita tastes like rubber?
Well, I drink stuff out of a can. It tastes like aluminum.
You're drinking out of the wrong cans, my friend.
I don't know. Don't you know, I don't want to get in trouble with Mr. Max. We're on really good terms right now. But, a redacted soda beverage versus a redacted soda beverage in a can is disgusting.
No, you're right. You're right.
But honestly, sometimes the can improves it. So I don't know.
And the chat is saying it's actually more like a juice box, which I can get behind.
Well, like I said, it has a little straw hole. I think, yes, Thundersticks equal juice boxes for the Merc fans. I am literally going to pull up to this drink situation at the next time there's Mercury home game, and I'm going to ask him, what is the bring your own cup situation? Is that allowed? Is this allowed?
Wait. Business idea, Erica. You know how people are in love with the little mini helmet, ice creams and drinks?
Joel just changed my life.
What if you had a vendor where you had different collectible things you could fill with alcohol, and you could just be I want the baseball bat or I want the basketball, and you could just get a margarita in a basketball. I think I need to make this happen. I need to quit my job.
Are you going to develop the basketball? Also, my main question is going to be, where does the basketball go when you aren't drinking it? And is it going to be a big basketball?
It's a collectible. It would probably. I mean, they can't see it on the chat, but it'd probably be more like the size of that basketball behind you with the says.
Oh, that's a good size.
Yeah. But it's also it's like a fishbowl.
It's
for people that can't see, it's the size of a fishbowl. If you ever had a fishbowl.
Honestly, a good size fishbowl, guys.
Yeah.
I do love Nate's comment, but we're not gonna put it on the screen because Max will get mad, and but that's very hilarious because that is my favorite thing in the world right now. So
it kind of looks like one. No, the arena, an arena, a stadium, kind of looks like one of those items.
Oh, yeah. Andy, don't say that about yourself. Everybody in the comments, leave a nice comment about yourself, because Andy just low-key triggered my inner child by saying he made himself a fat kid. That's not very nice to you, Andy. So be a little nicer to yourself. Say a nice thing about you, and then we'll try again, okay? But yeah, everybody leave a comment that's nice about you. I believe Steven's going to be joining us here soonish. But until then, we can take a little bit of a quick ad break, and then we can talk more about the Mercury's loss to the Dream after that. Y'all thought the show was rusty. What do y'all think this is going to be, man? Mountain America Credit Union is committed to helping more than 1 million members at their 100 branches throughout the West. You can get 2 times the points on rewards credit card purchases through July 31st. You know what you can use those credit card rewards points for? Orange trees. And Ogre asked me about my orange tree today, and I did not have a good answer. And that's terrible. I have to go buy an orange tree.
You could also use it on the $250 mark.
These are great ideas. Oh, man. We got to get on this double reward situation before Kevin and I can't afford our Thunder Stick margarita. But you can use your Mountain Rewards credit card and watch the points pile up. It's perfect for gas, like tomorrow at the Circle K Fuel Day. I don't know if you guys heard. 40 cents off tomorrow. I should have waited about a minute and a half to mention that, but that's okay. You can watch points pile up. It's perfect for gas, groceries, travel, home projects, and all other purchases. This promotion is a super easy way to stretch your dollars since you earn twice as many rewards. You can redeem your double points for things like travel rebates, gift cards, event tickets, orange trees, $250 margaritas at PHX Arena, even maybe $150 margaritas at PHX Arena. Who knows? But details at macu.com. This is a limited time only. You have to take advantage of it while you still can. It's the 23rd right now, and you have till the 31st of July, people. Loans on approved credit offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions do apply. I don't know if you guys heard. It's a fuel day tomorrow at the Circle K. 40 freaking cents off, man. Inner Circle rewards. All you got to do is download the app, put in your phone number, put in your email address, and then boom, you're a part of the Inner Circle rewards. Tomorrow, you're going to get 40 cents off your every single gallon of gas you buy, which in this economy, are we serious right now? And then every single day after that, well, let me just backtrack a little bit. I went a little ahead of myself. When you first join the Inner Circle, you're going to get 25 cents off a gallon until you reach your first 5 fill-ups. Then after that, you're going to be in the 3 cent off club until you work your way up into the 5 cent off club, like me, Kevo, Steven. I know Damon Dog is a part of the 5 cent off club. And then on days like tomorrow, when God shines his brightest light on Arizona, you can have 40 cents off your fuel at Circle K. When you're a part of the Inner Circle Rewards program, you get a ton of other rewards too, like free beverages in the app. You can get all kinds of coupons in the app, plus the 79-cent Polar Pops every day that ends in Y. I mean, the deals just keep on coming at Circle K. Kevin, what's your favorite snack at Circle K?
Oh, not even close. Peanut butter stuffed pretzels. They are, I mean, I don't want to ruin the partnership here, but it's like a drug, if you get what I'm saying.
Can I be honest? I love a chocolate covered raisin, and I don't care who hears it. And they have them at Circle K, so shout out to them for that. But they have all the other things you might want. A Thirst Buster margarita. You probably could make that happen at Circle K if you really, really, set your mind to it. So, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do. It's a free world. But yeah, join the Inner Circle Reward today by going on your phone, downloading the app, putting in your phone number and email address. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Man, that wasn't even that bad. I kind of slid that for it being my first time back. What do you think of it?
Yes, affirmative.
Nice. Awesome. I am getting a little spooked that my main man, Stephen Prichard, has gotten lost in the sauce, but that's okay, because we've got tons of talk about. He's sending a lot of clips.
I was going to say, Stephen is not lost in the sauce. He's getting us all of the best, post-game sound possible.
Well, that's perfect, because I just know he's... Oh, my gosh. Wow. No, are you guys giving me crap for raisins in the chat? Raisins are delicious, and the only reason I don't buy more raisins is because they're poisonous to dogs, and I don't want my dogs to get sick by accident. And I like to eat snacks in my bed, and sometimes I drop things, and I would hate to drop a raisin and poison my dog. So yeah, I would eat a lot more raisins if it weren't for that. Yeah, Mercury lost, and it's tough. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent about Kit Loxa for just a second, because Kit Loxa has, while Stephen Prichard hasn't gotten lost in the sauce, Kit Loxa certainly kind of has. And she's one of those players that when she's not doing super well on offense, it is, kind of tough to watch on defense. She makes a lot of mistakes, and of everyone on the Mercury's defense right now, Kit Loxa sticks out like kind of a sore thumb, in my opinion. But I don't think it's not recoverable. I just think Kit Loxa needs to score to be good on the defensive end. I think that it unlocks her in a higher way when she's scoring at a consistent level. She is able to stay locked in on the defensive end, but when she misses buckets consistently, it's really hard for her, I think. And tonight she was only 0 for 2, so she only shot the ball twice, and her 2 points were from the free throw line. So definitely something to keep your eye on in the future as you're watching the Mercury. I think, the bench carried the Mercury through their toughest stretch to start the season and positionally put the Mercury in a really good spot to, not only make the playoffs, but have really good seeding in the playoffs as long as they continue to play well in the second half of the season here. And so, I think if the Mercury's depth can get back to producing in the ways that they were before the break, then we, as Mercury fans, have nothing to worry about. Nate for you in the comments says, just clone Steven. You're going to need a lot more bucket hats, though. I would love to clone Steven so I could learn about basketball at an even higher rate, but unfortunately that seems like one of those things that is non-ethical. And so, yeah. Shout out to you though for the idea. It is a great idea.
Breaking news. Steven said he's about to get on the stream soon.
I know you guys missed that. Yeah. She only played 12 minutes. Yeah, but Kitlox is one of those players that doesn't need a lot of time to produce. So I don't know. I think that Kit's role has changed a little bit as, players have come back from injury, but I want to see her score the basketball more. And Lexi was great in her return tonight. I was really excited to see her back on the floor. I didn't care how many minutes she played and I didn't care how many points she had. Lexi on the defensive end is really, really great. And so I think having Lexi back is great for the Mercury's defense as a whole. I can't wait to hear Steven's thoughts on that, but Lexi is one of those players that is just absolutely annoying to deal with on the defensive end. So, Joel says in the comments that in the Discord lounge, they said he was kissable in the Discord. See what kind of discourse you guys are missing out on in the Discord, man? It's absolutely chaos in there. I don't know what's going on in there. Might go have to check it out myself right now. But if they're saying that about Joel, I just can't imagine what they're saying about me, man. It's tough. But welcome back to the show, Joel. Make sure you leave a like. Oh, man, I'm not logged into my Discord on my laptop. I might as well have brought my freaking gaming laptop. This is pointless.
Throwback. It's a nice throwback there.
The gaming laptop?
Yeah, to when you brought the wrong laptop to the show.
You guys didn't even know that happened. You would have no idea that I brought a laptop with only one single game downloaded on it, and that is the entire contents of the laptop. So, but I executed the full postgame show. It's also the postgame show that Kevin had to interject with my ad breaks because I broke in half. So shout out to Kevin for helping me through it all,
Holmes in the chat actually kind of read my mind. I was going to ask you, I don't want you to make a full prediction because I'm sure you're going to touch on it with Steven coming up here. But what are your expectations for the Liberty game coming up?
One of the biggest things I started out early on saying tonight is that Kalia was not getting enough touches for me. It was like 4 minutes into the game before Kalia touched the basketball tonight, and I do think that that's an issue. I think Kalia, while has definitely been rusty, I think she's such an offensive threat in terms of like cutting to the basket and just driving on her defender, that when Kalia isn't getting touches, it kind of limits the offense that the Mercury is able to play, especially with her on the court, I feel like. So Kalia's got to get more touches, especially early on in the game. Nate Tibbetts, Kalia was his go-to player last year. When he needed a quick bucket, Kyle was the person he called. And so I not that I think he is ready to go back to quite that just yet, considering she's returning from such an injury, but I do think that she is going to step out and step up. And then also, Andy brings a great point. Justice for Lexi held in NYC. Last time Lexi was in New York City, my girl got the wind knocked out of her so bad that she had I'm going to butcher this, pneumothorax. I think I said it right, actually, but I
couldn't correct you if you were wrong.
Olivia, correct me if I'm wrong, if I said that incorrectly, but yeah, it's, something with a collapsed lung. Terrible. Had to take a train from New York City back to Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to be honest with you, when I cannot think of a more miserable way to travel from New York City to Arizona is a train. So yeah, justice for Lexi. She's gonna get her lick back. Are you reading about the thing I said?
It looks like it would be pronounced pneumothorax because it's PNE, like pneumonia.
I did my best.
So I think it's just pneumothorax.
What did I say?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Well, we did our best, and if that's not enough, I don't know what is at this point. But yeah, justice for Lexi, because that was like one of the scariest falls I've ever seen, and it was terrible that she was out for as long as she was, but glad to see her back, and glad Steven's going to be here to save the show here in just a few short seconds, I'm sure of it. But my other expectation for the Liberty game is that Allisha is going to be able to find the glass again. She was not able to use the glass, the bank, if you will, in the same way she normally does. AT shot one of her, I believe it's her third lowest percentage of the season, which was 38. Yeah, 38%. She was 3 for 8 from the field and 1 for 4 from the free throw line, for 7 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. So kind of interesting that throughout it all, she still flirted with a freaking triple double. But I do have some excellent news, and it's that my beloved co-host, PG1, QB1, on and off the field, in and out of the studio, is finally tapping in with us. Stephen Griner. I was getting a little worried that my guy was lost in the sauce, so I'm just blessed that this man is back on my screen because I've been needing you, man. We need your analysis. I know that Nate Tibbetts had some good dime pieces in the press conference today, and then as well, I know you're going to have some excellent analysis of what we saw versus the Atlanta Dream tonight, but I guess I want to start with just your quick takeaway from tonight's loss versus the Dream.
Yeah, it's that styles make fights. There's still a lot to learn about this team. There's still a lot for this team to learn about itself. And this was very much a first game out of a break for a team. Obviously, Atlanta was on the back end of a road back-to-back. They lost to Las Vegas last night. So they were in a different type of groove, but because of the way that they lost last night, they also played with a different type of purpose. They had a different type of urgency. They within less than 24 hours, like I said, they wanted to get that kind of bad taste out their mouths that came from a game last night that saw them play, honestly, some of their worst basketball of the season. And head coach Carl Smezko was definitely, let's just say, aware and kind of shared that message with his team. And needless to say, they came out today and looked like a complete different team 24 hours later.
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely interested to see what the Atlanta turnaround would be after that loss in Vegas. And I mean, it's not that the Dream looked terrible yesterday, but it definitely seemed like they were going to come out with a vengeance tonight. And then obviously this is a huge, meaningful game for BG, and the emotions were high in pregame. And so I wasn't really shocked to see the Dream come out as hot as they were in the first quarter.
No, I wasn't really surprised to see them come out hot, but the Mercury in these first quarters, when they set a tone for the game, starting with the defense and leading to the offense, they usually win by double digits. That was not the case tonight at all. As I double checked the box score real quick just to speak accurately, they lost the first quarter. Let's see, where's the
26-17.
26-17, and I'm looking specifically at the field goal percentage.
Oh.
So they shot in the first quarter. 1 second. 30%. 7 for 23. So some of that, of course, stems from the defense. They were taking the ball out the net almost every single possession. But once they got to a point where they started to get a little bit of flow with their offense, it still felt like the defense was playing catch up. And Satu kind of spoke to it, which we'll get to a little bit later, about not allowing for their defense to have to play off of what the offense is doing. It should be always their defense kind of leading the dance and setting the tone. And needless to say, tonight, they just couldn't stay in front of the ball before anything else. I think the point of emphasis was post defense because of who they were going against, but they were solid there, but they were not good containing the ball in ways in which we haven't really seen them struggle outside of maybe one or two other games through 23 games now this season in tonight's game.
I had made a point about Monique being missed tonight, and I definitely feel like that's the case. I know that the Mercury is probably at this point closer to being whole than they have been all season, but I feel like Mo missing from the team tonight was kind of a glaring thing on both ends of the court, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they definitely missed her drives. I'll talk about her drives a lot because of if she's going to get paint touches, that means that either she's scoring or she's kicking it out to someone like Satu, someone like Kalia. someone like Allisha, who might not necessarily take the shots, but can keep the chains moving and keep them in a flow to get eventually a good shot. That part of the offense was definitely missing, them getting paint touches in the ways in which make them a great offense. But defensively, I think her presence was missed more than anything. Don't want to put anything against Lexi Hill in her first game back in over a month and coming back from the injury in particular that she sustained with the lung. That taps all the way into your breathing, into your conditioning. So she's giving grace for at least the next week of games to kind of find her legs and find her footing. That's tough though because it's her and Monica Makani that set the tone for the team defensively. The extended pickup points that they work with, their abilities to stay in front of elite level ball handlers to the point where help isn't always needed, and if it is needed, it's in a way that's to control what's going on with their defense, to kind of shut the water off for offensive players. So that part was definitely missing today. I think they missed that spark that Lexi typically has. Obviously, again, her first game, so not holding anything against her. But if you put her first game back in tandem with not having Monique, that kind of leaves a void that no one else on the team can really replicate in the ways that those two can in particular. And Nate spoke to that post game. Dewana spoke to that post game, and then I definitely have some things to speak on with that too, because that point of attack defense kind of overlooked with the loud things that Allisha and Satu do defensively, and even Natasha Mack in moments. But they can't be their best selves if they're not steering the wheel with their defense starting at the point of attack. That's where all of the value that Monique and Lexi bring when they're at their best.
Well, I want to give you a chance to get to the post-game clips as quick as possible. But so I guess where do you want to kind of start with these?
Yeah, we'll start, and this will help Kevin out too because we got about 7 clips. We'll flow through in sequential order, starting with Nate. Got about 4 clips from Nate, then we got about 2 from Dewana, and then we got 1 from Satu. So let's start first with Nate. He had a lot to say. Let's start with the slow first quarters and kind of what he saw and how he kind of hopes that they can mitigate those slow starts going forward.
Good question. I don't know why we've struggled in the first quarter. We struggled in the first quarter tonight. And to be honest, we probably struggled the whole night up until about the last 5 minutes of the game. We looked rusty. We didn't play our brand of basketball. It was extremely disappointing. We haven't had many of these, but we had one tonight, and I think you got to give Atlanta credit after the back-to-back and the way they came out and competed. Just a credit to them.
Yeah, definitely want to start with crediting the Atlanta Dream because they came out and, like I said, they played with purpose. They played with urgency. They played with force to start the game. They set the tone. They kind of set the table for everything that came ultimately the rest of the way. Again, where they pretty much had the lead from start to finish almost. And it was just one that really they played the game on their terms. And if you're playing the game on their terms because of the way they go about operating on offense, playing through the post, and the way that kind of controls the flow of the game, especially if they're drawing fouls and scoring from the free throw line, that puts a different type of weight on the Mercury offense that's usually accustomed to playing in the open floor off of stops after stops after stops. And by my count, I don't think they got any of those kills. If they got any, they got maybe 1 or 2 in the second half, but there was significantly fewer and further in between than it typically is, and that kind of lent itself to them playing catch up pretty much the entire game.
Yeah, and I mean, we've put an emphasis on those closeout and kills for the last month and a half specifically. So it's definitely an important part of what they do and how they play basketball, especially at their best. And so, it makes it really hard for them to get into any offensive flow when that's the way the defense came out. I'll be interested to see against a team like New York, especially with New York being back whole, how they come out in the first quarter after a slump. And I don't really like calling it a slump because I don't really feel like it's a slump, but after a slow start like this after the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's something that the Mercury will have to address starting with themselves, though. I think it's independent of opponents at this point. I think there's a lot of numbers that align with when they're good barometers for if they're doing X, Y, Z, and ABC. Their record is typically elite in terms of their win percentage, and when they do the opposite of that, and it's lacking that kind of force that I keep speaking with, the numbers are a whole lot more uneven in terms of being closer to 500, if not sub 500. So some of that comes with them playing with and without main pieces of their rotation. But just generally speaking, this is a team that's built to sustain, as we've seen, being perseverant regardless of who's in and out the lineup. But even when they're healthy, being able to sustain across multiple lineups, and they just didn't have that tonight. One quick thing to note from that first quarter, though, uh, obviously, Brittney Griner, one of the main subjects of today's game, her first return to Phoenix, not playing for the Mercury. 7 points in the first quarter, 4 rebounds. They went to her like the first 3 or 4 possessions, and it was intentional, getting her the ball in the post, a little bit of wedge action, a couple of cross screens, and just letting her go to work, kind of get herself comfortable. And she was scoring. Like I said, 7 points, was 3 for 5 in the first quarter, got to the free throw line one time, also had 4 rebounds. Her stamp and impact was significant on the initial part of the game. And the Mercury would kind of succumb to that rather than kind of taking some of that off the table. But outside of BG, the real first quarter story was Big Al, Allisha Gray. 8 points, knocked down 2 threes. Her defense was everywhere. She also had 3 rebounds in the quarter as well. Those are the things that don't typically happen for any particular position when the Mercury are on their P's and Q's in first quarters.
Well, and then I'm thinking about the second quarter, and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough starts cooking from 3. It was just a tough first half for the Mercury all the way around. And I know the next clip is going to be about the bad offense, but if the defense is bad, it makes the job that much more difficult for the Mercury to do what they need to do on the offense.
Yeah, like I was saying, Satu mentioned, which we'll get to a little bit later, but they can't have one side of the ball be impacted by the performance of the other side of the ball. It has to be kind of exclusive to one another and allow for, if it is playing off of one another, it's because of the positivity, not the negative side of it. So we can go ahead and get to the next one, like you mentioned, with Nate speaking to specifically the uncharacteristics showing for them on offense. Got some numbers that kind of that align with that and kind of matching the eye test for me on my end. So, here's Nate on the uncharacteristic offensive showing for his team tonight.
Really good question. I'd like to say it was that. It felt that way. But we've had people in and out of the lineup all year. We probably had more people in the lineup that had been out an extended period of time. Obviously, like I know you guys have watched us, but like that wasn't us tonight. I mean, that's not how we've played up until this point. So that's probably the most disappointing thing. But we were completely out of rhythm. I thought the first half we competed defensively, but offensively we really struggled.
So tonight they had their second lowest potential assists compiled for the game. They only had 31. Like I said, that's their second lowest. That's not something that aligns with this team. They're typically a team that gets between 25 to 30 assists a game on average. And when they do that, it's because of a multitude of things, but usually it's starting with their movement in addition to the paint touches that they're able to get. So the movement sets the table for the defense that they're going against being either not set or having to make decisions. And then off of that, that's where the freelancing read and react that they like to play with typically kind of weighs on their opponents. Because now you have to worry about Sammy Wickham running off of billions of screens and screening for Alyssa Thomas when she's got the ball in pick and roll. Alyssa Thomas getting paint touches. Satu cutting, DB now, she's in the mix with the rest of everybody. Her cutting, Kalia Copper back in the mix, doing things from the second side, going to get paint touches. That all was not happening in that rapid kind of cadence that typically puts a defensive team, in conflict. They were a whole lot slower. It was a whole lot more kind of standing around and watching. And you want to start with crediting the Atlanta Dream for their defense and not being easily penetrated regarding their shell and being able to contain the ball. At the same time, though, if the ball is not moving for the Mercury, and in addition to the ball not moving, if players are not moving in the ways in which they typically do, whether it's a literal play that's being ran or it's them cutting to create space, which is something that's big that we've kind of detailed, if those things aren't on the table for them, it can get kind of hard. And this was kind of a game where they kind of probably one of maybe 3 games this season where they've had this issue in particular. I don't imagine it's something that we see too much going forward, but again, this team's still learning about themselves. Us still also learning about this team against different styles of teams. This is why you don't want to jump the gun too quick because they still have things to learn.
Well, and then to your point, I had kind of mentally noted in the first, and I could be wrong about the time here, but it was at least 3 minutes into the game before Ka got any type of touch on the basketball. And that to me seems like a recipe for the opposite of success on the offensive end in particular, because Ka's ability to drive to the rim is next to none pretty much. And I not that I don't care, but I don't really care about the injury narrative because she's still good at what she does. Like, that's still her role. And so I just was a little confused about why they weren't, Ka's been the, if you need a bucket, that's who Nate calls for the last year. And now suddenly, there were just no touches for her in the first 3 minutes. And it stuck out to me like a sore thumb, especially when, Nate Tibbetts is talking in the pregame about how he knows her minutes are going to be limited. It's tough for me to watch. I feel like on the offensive side, when their spacing can just be that much more improved if Kalia gets the ball earlier.
Yeah, some of it is definitely them not having been whole for the last 2.5 weeks of play.
Yeah.
And then it's immediately going from not being whole to now you got Allisha's been back, but now you got Satu back, you got Kalia back, and you're integrating DeWanna Bonner on top of all of that. So it was definitely a little bit of game rhythm being thrown off, trying to kind of disperse the usage and who was getting put in what position at what pocket of time. But also, Kalia is an elite transition scorer. They didn't have many opportunities to score in transition today because they weren't getting stops to the extent that they usually do, but they also weren't playing in transition in general, whether it's off of stops or if they're with activity getting steals and block shots that allow for them to play in their advantage that is transition. So if you mitigate that part of the offensive diet for the Mercury, you're taking away some of what makes Ka her best, and that's the transition drives to the basket, but also the pull-up threes that she's great at as well. So I feel like their game process was thrown off again. Everything stemming from the defense and the lack of defensive presence from them in a sustained manner, lending itself to the offense not having really much rhythm. Did you have anything else you wanted to speak on with the offense? Because it definitely wasn't the prettiest showing for them tonight.
Yeah, it was not. Pretty is not a word I would use to describe what we watched today.
Yeah, I mean, Nate pretty much went as far to say it himself. Talking about it was hard. I'm sure it was hard for y'all to watch. It was hard for me to kind of stand on the sideline and watch. But he also noted that this is not something that's consistent for them, and that they'll definitely look at the film and address it. Going into Friday's game to start the 5-game road trip, starting in New York. We got 2 more clips though from Nate. Let's go to while we're speaking about Kalia as well as Satu. Nate's assessments of Lexi, Satu, and Kalia in their first games returning from injury stints.
I thought they did a good job. They looked rusty, and they should be. They haven't played in a while. Lex's minutes were pretty low, which we anticipated. She even called for a sub at one point. And I know Satu and Kai are going to be better moving forward.
Yeah, so it was definitely some signs of rust between those 3, and understandably so. With Lexi, I can kind of go by one with them. With Lexi, I think she was definitely rusty, but her competitive spirit wasn't rusty at all. She knocks down a 3-pointer, I think, in the third quarter, and she's letting the entire arena know that she's back, and immediately picks up full court, 3/4 of the court at least. So she was bringing the energy that she could in the capacity that she could, considering, again, it's her first game back from a lung injury in over a month. With Satu, still fun to see her finding pockets to get up those pull-up 3-point attempts that Nate has implored for her to find. And she knocked down 3 of those today. 2 of them were very confident takes. The other one, she got a little help from the rim, but because of her form, the rotation of the ball allowed for it to get that second and third bounce to ultimately go in. Defensively, she was a little rusty, as everyone else was. It felt like, generally speaking, they were all like a half step behind in terms of the rotations and in terms of coverage. And even before either one of those 2, just generally containing the ball. And then with Kalia was definitely a little rusty. She got it going a little bit in the fourth quarter. Kind of similar to how she was in her first game back against the Las Vegas Aces a little over a month ago too. On her side, it was a little rusty in the kind of beginning to middle portion, but fourth quarter, She comes out and scores the first 5 points. And to the point that I made, to the point that you made as well, and also to a point that Nate made in postgame, not a surprise that she got scoring off of intentionality with finding her in a rhythm. And that's them getting the ball to her in half court and movement. One time she comes off of a screen into a handoff, and she's able to turn the corner and get a layup. And then the next possession, they go to the exact same action. They try to Atlanta tries to jump the screen, so she just flares it, forces a switch, and then she ends up, I think, taking and knocking down the three in the left corner. Both of them coming from the left side, where she loves to be at. So again, those little things, it shouldn't have took until the fourth quarter for her to get those types of touches, especially not having it just be a one-off. Having that happen in multiple possessions in a row is important. But again, things can improve for them in terms of their game process. I imagine Monique is back soon. Can't say specifically with concussions because it's just hard to gauge them. She has been active at practice, just doing individual work this past week. So hopefully that's a step in the right direction for her. But getting the floor general back outside of Alyssa Thomas certainly will help this team in terms of the game flow, getting players in spots and finding out who's in the rhythm and who needs it. But yeah, just a rusty game all around. A very much a first game out of an all-star break for this Mercury team.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling the people in the chat, like, this game gave me nothing to stress about. Like, this is the Mercury's first game versus the Dream this season. I felt like this was going to be one of the best matchups for the Mercury since we first saw the Dream play in May. You know, they shoot a zillion threes a game. They make a lot of them, and they like to play inside. Like, I just knew it was going to be a great, test for the Mercury. Did I think it was going to go this way at home on the first matchup? Probably not. But I did think it was a bit of a like, oh shoot, you had a field trip over the weekend and now you're exhausted. Now you can't get the job done at your actual job. Oh no. And so I don't think it's going to be something that long term. I think this is just going to be a blip in the season and we won't think about it too much come September.
I think so too, but I like the challenge that Atlanta poses for them as an individual team because I spoke with Nate pregame. We talked about how unique their approach is. A lot of teams are downsizing, playing with someone that's more skilled in floor spacing at the four, almost like a wing or a guard in a bigger sense at that forward position, rather than having two bigs. So Atlanta's a team that goes against that kind of bucks that trend. But they also still play very much an evolved style of basketball, so they just put a different type of pressure on opponents. And it's an opportunity for the Mercury to learn about themselves against different types of teams, but also having to play off of a game where they were relatively healthy outside of Monique Makani, and they had a generally underwhelming performance. So seeing how they bounce back from that, how they take the lessons to learn from it, and kind of correct those wrongs going into a gauntlet of many sorts. There's going to be this 5-game road trip that spans about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to them kind of having that challenge to address and then kind of going and answering those respectively.
8 games in 16 nights does feel a slight bit insane. And considering the Mercury injury,
that's the WNBA schedule in 2025. Makes zero sense the way that it's structured, but here we are.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it at all. And it's not, why not start? I just, never mind. I just don't understand. But 8 in 16 is ridiculous. And we're sitting here talking about how the Mercury's need desperately to stay healthy. And 8 games in 16 days at you, entirety of the WNBA front office staff, is not going to help them do that. Thank you very much.
And just for context purposes, because it's not an issue specific to the Mercury, it's generally a league-wide issue. So you want to give a break over All-Star that spans only a couple of days, not even a full week. And for the players that are involved in All-Star, which you want your high-end players involved for the attention and to continue to uplift the brand, your reward is, if you're Atlanta Dream, if you're someone like Allisha Gray or you're someone like Brianna Jones, congratulations on being an all-star. Here's a back-to-back after your abbreviated quote-unquote break. On the road, no less, to start your second half of the schedule. Like, that, it just logistically, you have to be better. And I don't want to pin this on Kathy because it's not her doing. But they have to be better on the logistics side with the WNBA on the business side of things and making things make more sense. You want your best quality of basketball, let's have an actual All-Star break, and let's also give these players an opportunity to have that break and then have a schedule that makes sense from start to finish, including that break that was not actually a break, which most of the players were participating in. So these things make more sense. The basketball product will make a whole lot more sense too.
And I know this isn't an All-Star episode, but I do got to ask you real quick. I know you were there. I'm hearing rumors that this was the best All-Star of all time, and I need to know your take on that.
Well, we can start with Indiana not having parking for media. I'll start there because that logistically, again, makes zero sense. I can do a whole individual podcast on that part and why it doesn't make sense. But
why would there not be parking?
No assigned parking spots for media members in 2025. Aside from that, though, I think that weighs into my 5-star rating if I'm giving a total stars. What would have been probably 4.5 got knocked down to 3.5 for me because that part just doesn't make sense. But as far as Indianapolis being a walkable city, so you can put different types of activities all over the place. They did a good job kind of spreading things out, and where WNBA Live was located made sense as well. However, in addition to the parking part that I'm speaking to, the WNBA Live experience has been free for the fans. That's kind of a point to bring people in that might not necessarily be going to the game to enjoy the weekend, to find other ways outside of going to the game or the 3-point or skills challenge and invest in the All-Star weekend. It's a community thing. To be charging people any number of dollars for that feels like a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So let's clean up the logistics and not lose touch with what's made the league such a unique one and such a great one and ascending towards even more greatness. Let's not take steps backwards with that. But generally speaking, it was a good weekend, but there's definitely things that they can clean up with. And for those reasons, I can't say it was the best.
Man, you had to pay for parking and to get into WNBA Live. That seems like a scam. Like, I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
That kind of seems like scam work right there.
Now, thankfully, media members didn't have to pay if they had their passes with them. But I'm talking about for the common folk that wanted to come and enjoy All-Star Weekend, because how often is All-Star Weekend, unless you're Vegas, in your actual hometown? Which the rumor is that it's going to be back in Vegas again next season. So I'm just, we got to be better with these things. But I feel for the people that wanted to come and support, and then they bring their 4 or 5 kids in addition to their spouse. You thinking it's free, and then you come in because it's been free in years past, and then you have to end up spending over $150 for your family to get in. And then in addition to that, if you want to spend money on anything that's going on in there, obviously that's going to cost because these are mostly individual brands. Like that adds up quick for something that would have been free to get into, and then you have X amount of dollars to kind of budget to spend on what's going on at the actual event. Let's be better with that. But that's my little 2 cents on All-Star Weekend. Generally, it was good. I think the way it was set up was good, but the things for the community and the things for the media can certainly be cleaned up on for sure.
I also heard a rumor that the food was not nearly as good as what we have here in the Valley, but
I wasn't going to mention that part. I was going to let it breathe, but the food part.
Yeah.
It's Indiana, duh.
Yeah. Man, Indiana's just catching all the strays today. But I just had to ask what your thoughts were. Like I said, I heard rumors that it was one of the best of all time. And, last year was my first, so it's always going to hold a special place in my heart. But, I feel like Indiana, from what I was watching, did do a pretty great job. And Stud Buds, I mean, you watch anything on their stream and they make it look like you're, watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, so.
That's who made it seem like it was the greatest All-Star weekend of all time, because those who know how to have a party, regardless of if there's an actual party going on, they're gonna have party vibes to them. So I would say it was them more than anything. It wasn't bad. I don't want to say it was like terrible, but I would give them like a B minus, and a B minus feels like a C minus when everybody else is talking about it's like an A. It really wasn't. So don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I just got to keep it 1,000 at the same time.
This is why you come to this pod, though, for the truth, the hard-hitting journalism, you know what I'm saying? And Stephen was boots on the ground, and he got us the report card, and he said it wasn't as good as everybody said. So
yeah. And while we on the topic, since we ripped the Band-Aid off, if you have an All-Star that's a perennial MVP candidate, also a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Also, an all WNBA first team candidate. Also, an all WNBA first team defensive candidate on a year by year basis. That's an All Star. And that said, All Star does not have a jersey that's available to be purchased by supporters of the individual player or the team that she's on, or both. That's a significant flaw in process. That's a non-negotiable type of mistake that just simply can't be made.
Yeah, I know you were boots on the ground. David Veenstra confirmed it as well. There were no AT jerseys, and I just did a quick Google search just to see if I could also buy one online, and you cannot. So that to me is the biggest slight I've heard all season. We can sit here and talk about how she's our leading MVP candidate all day long, but the league's blatant disrespect over and over again is kind of egregious at this point, and things like this are just it's kind of inexcusable. And you have a weekend that is literally built around marketing these players. And today I was in PHX Arena. You know what I saw for the first time with my own two eyes? A Monique Cole-McConney jersey and a Lexi Held jersey on a patron. You know what? How that doesn't happen if the Phoenix Mercury doesn't step up and sell those jerseys early in the season. And so it's yes, fans need to support the league and support these teams, and I hate to say it, but like, you got to shell out money to support the teams, right? But the league has to do a better job of being prepared for when people want to support their teams and players. And consistently, since I've been a fan of the W over the last 6-7 years, there's always been under stock of jerseys, signature shoes. I'm looking at you, A1s that sold out and no one can seem to get their freaking hands on these days. They just never are prepared enough for the demand that's actually going to be there. And that is a slight to women as a whole. And I don't think it's right. And so, yeah, it's tough to watch when we know how good AT has been for this team, but then historically, and for her to just be seemingly left off the list like that is pretty disrespectful.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very disrespectful, and I think one of the most kind of sad things I've heard over the last couple of years was, can't remember what season it was, but it was within the last 2 to 3, where AT was asked post game when she was in Connecticut about kind of being left off of what feels like she should have had at least one MVP or Defensive Player of the Year finishing over the last couple of years, and having no accolades in that respect to show for her all-time great level of play that she's been putting forth on both ends of the floor the last 4 seasons now. And she just shrugged it off with a smile on her face, saying, I'm used to it. It is what it is. And she just continues to put her head down, focus on winning and putting the work in. Very, very sad to hear that. Not saying that anyone deserves anything, because there are certainly other deserving talents, but when you get things as little as a jersey being available for public consumption at a league-wide event that is All-Star Weekend, and one of your league-leading MVP candidates that just won Player of the Week in the Western Conference, that just had a career best showing against what other people's MVP leader might be so far this season in Afisa Collier, like, she was just a couple of days removed from that. And the immediate response to that WNBA All-Star is not having a jersey available for any Mercury fans or AT fans that might have wanted to get her jersey. Those little things matter. And if you're talking about wanting to grow as a league, you can't get to growth points without having your T's and I's crossed and dotted respectively and respectfully.
Well, I'm going to say a little more disrespectfully. Next year, y'all better have AT's jersey or you will be dealing with me. I'm over it. I've had enough. I'm not doing this no more. Like, y'all, it's just the games are done. So quit throwing disrespect on my MVP like that. I don't appreciate it. I know the Mercury fans don't appreciate it. I saw the conversation. Just because I wasn't saying nothing on Twitter doesn't mean I wasn't seeing it on Twitter. So it was disrespectful and it was loud. And I do believe Alyssa Thomas will be getting her lick back. If not today, if not tomorrow, we will see it eventually.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the point because we definitely got to get back to our clips. But I just know, like, it's not in and I'm not speaking as I am Alyssa, but just in kind of getting to know her this past season and over the last couple of seasons, she's not one that's going to speak out willingly about that unless she's asked about it. So it feels like to be a sounding board in some capacity for her feels appropriate because it just can't be an oversight that's just continue to be allowed without being addressed in an appropriate manner. So that's my kind of 2 cents on the list. I'm sure we'll have more to say about her and her being disserviced in multiple ways going forward. But generally speaking, she's focused on winning the championship and getting her first championship. She's been to the championship round multiple times. She's trying to kick the door down and go and get the ring and let people talk about having jerseys with the trophy over her name and number on the back of it rather than the All-Star jersey at the end of the season.
Well, and to your point, they're going to win, a championship if they do off the back of their defense. And I know Nate Tibbetts had a little bit to say about the defensive woes tonight. And so I'm really eager to hear what Nate Tibbetts had to say about that in particular.
Yeah, I mean, obviously BG got going a little bit early. I just thought overall I thought our post defense was actually okay. I thought we were poor in our pick and roll. There was probably more rejects in the pick and roll breakdown, straight line drives, and then the back doors. I mean, we probably gave up, 15 to 25 points just off poor non-post defense that we haven't done, and that was what was disappointing. We talked about it before the game. That double post, it presented a different challenge. But yeah, I think it was more some other things that really broke down for us.
Yeah, so we talk about this being game 23 for the Phoenix Mercury, first game of the second half of the regular season. We talked about them having their second lowest potential assist with 31. The other part of that on offense I forgot to note is that they also had their 7th fewest total passes made over the course of the game, with only 242 in this game, which speaks to the lack of movement, player movement, and ball movement that we're getting to. That stuff's all offensive, but defensively, and I have to take a breath before I say it, because this is just not something that they've usually had an issue with. This is a team that has told everybody and showed everybody with their play that they're looking to set the tone with their defense, first, second, and third. They're first in the defense in terms of percentage of possessions where they're picking up opponents in the half court. They're first with pick-up points, or they're second with pick-up points, and they're first with how long it takes their opponents to cross the half-court line. I imagine neither of those 3 stats individual to this game align with the team that's first, second, and first in each of these stats respectively that we're talking about. That puts them behind the 8 ball in terms of where they usually are defensively, first and foremost to set a tone for a possession. But then you also compound it with the drives that Nate was talking about. And today they conceded the 3rd most drives to opponents that they have in all season long through 23 games. The 3rd most. They gave up 38 points via drives, 3rd most points given up there. That's something that's different for this team. That's not something that they've usually had issues with. But it's definitely what plagued them in tonight's game. They have to find a way to get back within their defensive identity. And I think it starts with the point of attack defense. It can't just all be on Lexi. If Monique is out for an extended period, can Satu chip in there? Can Sammy chip in there? Can Kalia chip in there? Can Dewana chip in there at times? You got to find other pieces that can, if they're not going to do it in the same way, at least kind of have that same type of template so that they're not working up against offense is kind of working so freely against them. I think that'll help them significantly if they do kind of continue forward without Monique and with Lexi still trying to play catch up.
Yeah, and I think as we watch Lexi play catch up more and more, like this becomes less of a problem for them. But I hope, to your point, like especially with the starting group having changed so much over the course of the last 5 games, like I think we'll see that defensive connectivity that we saw in the first half of the season come back really soon and with a vengeance that maybe wasn't there in the first half of the season. Like I think the Mercury were playing with like no pressure in the first 20 games of the season. They knew that nobody picked them to even, people were picking them to miss the freaking playoffs, for crying out loud. Like they had no pressure on them. And so now the pressure is kind of on. They beat the Liberty twice, if I'm not mistaken. The Lynx right before the All-Star break, they had some some really great games that made them suddenly circled on some people's calendars that maybe they weren't circled on before. And so, I think that this team is going to, as time goes on, they're really going to find themselves again on the defensive end, having been whole and having to had gone through so many lineups. I think as the season finishes, we'll see a lot more consistency where maybe they haven't had a chance to even establish any type of consistency as of right now. And hopefully as everyone returns from injury and is able to play more consistent minutes together, we kind of see that leaf start to change.
Yeah, I think you made some good points. I think also just if we're talking about in an immediate fashion, the film session that they have tomorrow, they probably won't watch too much offense. It might just be exclusive to the defense. And taking note of all of those 38 points that I spoke to, which is the third most that they've conceded this season, via those drives, and looking at coverage laps and pick and roll, where someone's trying to kind of steer someone on the Dreams offense to a certain area, but the person that they're supposed to be kind of funneling them towards either isn't where they're supposed to, or the person on ball isn't kind of doing their job at the point of attack the way that they're supposed to. And now you see Jordan Canada going to get blow-bys into easy layup after free throw attempts. And the same thing with Big Al, Allisha Gray. And you see Maya Caldwell chipping in there, Tina Pow chipping in there. And it just kind of snowballs like that. That's not something that's consistent with them, but I imagine they want to kind of nip that as soon as possible. And that probably is going to be, like I said, the film session that takes place for this team tomorrow before they practice. And then the other thing we want to get to on the defense, we can kind of go to the DeWanna Bonner clip, Kevin, where DeWanna Bonner, I asked her about the defense, and before I could even get 3 words in, she laughed and she kind of checked and kind of spoke about the lack thereof of it. So here's DeWanna Bonner speaking to the defensive woes from today's game.
Defensively, it felt like y'all maybe had more struggles at the point of attack. I feel like y'all have more struggles at the point of attack than at any other game that you've been in so far.
Yeah.
What did you kind of see there from your perspective?
Yeah, they just took it at us for sure. Coming off the screens, I think we got to do a better job of fighting over and being up and playing people's tendencies. But I just got to go back and watch the video and clean some things up defensively because everybody in this league is very, very good, and any given night can, like Gray had 28, and she played very good for a team. But we got to figure out ways to slow people down and slow the guards down, slow the posts down. And we did not do a good job of that. So going back and watch the video and seeing how we can fix it and be better.
Yeah, I mean, it's cut dry and as simple as that. I mentioned defense and she immediately laughs. And then laughs again, like, yeah, that's got to be better. I think because she's such a vet, she's so experienced. She's won in multiple roles. She's played multiple defensive roles for successful teams. She's not going to be swayed off track by one anomaly of a game for the team that she's been with in the last 5 or 6 games, but also the team that they've generally been for the season. I think she understands what their identity is, and I think they all kind of understand that they have to get back aligned there for them to get back on track with the winning successes that they sustained in the first half.
Oh my gosh, Suns mentioned alignment. Are we aligned?
Yeah. Yeah, I was mentioning alignment before Brian Gregory, but I'll let him have it.
I'm glad that you were in agreement with Brian Gregory about who gets alignment, but nonetheless, I do think you're right that they all definitely something Nate Tibbetts said very early in the season that has really stuck with me is that everyone on this team knows their role, and that also means that they understand their identity. And so I'm not scared about this team returning to what we once saw as a great defensive team. Putting the stopping and the stamps on those defensive possessions, like they're going to get back to doing that. It's just a matter of them finding their own footing as a collective group together. To Steven's points, like DeWanna Bonner, this is what her 6th game in a Mercury jersey, or 5th or 6th?
I believe so. It's, yeah, 5th or 6th.
And so, and then, Ka missed all 5 of her first games. And so, then on top of it, Satu's been in and out with the ankle issue. It's definitely been tough for the Mercury to have any semblance of consistency, even in practice. And so when they're trying to practice, the same things they're trying to coach in the game, it's tough because half their team is sitting there watching. And as much as I'm sure they're taking in all the information that the coaching staff is giving to them, and honestly, AT, I'm sure, is pounding into them, like, I still think there's something to be said about actually going out there and doing it. And because of, so much of what they do is in the switch and the read and react, I think it is a little bit harder to just like fit into the system. They have to get to know each other a little bit better. And, that means Dewana Bonner and Kalia Copper on the floor together at the same time. Satu Sabally and Dewana Bonner on the floor together at the same time. Even AT, who has played 3-4 games with Kalia so far. So, I definitely, my expectations for this team didn't drop at all because of this defensive showing tonight. If anything, I just know that they're going to be much better in the next game versus the Liberty.
Yeah, that's the opportunity ahead. Today is what, Wednesday? That game is on Friday, so tomorrow is going to be probably a film and travel day for them. So going into Friday's game, they're going to have a nice little challenge, and I imagine they're going to have a challenge not just going up against the New York Liberty, who are certainly going to be trying to take it to the Mercury in particular, because not many teams have they struggled with this season. The Phoenix Mercury are squarely at the top of that list of teams that they've had their most struggles with. I imagine they're going to try to be sending a message of their own. But I think for the Mercury, they're going to be focused on themselves before focusing on New York as far as that goes, because they understand that when they do their job defensively, they're unbeatable this season. And when they kind of have some slippage, that's where they kind of find some vulnerability. And against a team like Minnesota, as well as Las Vegas, as well as New York, if you have some of your slippage with your identity, those are teams that can fill it up on any given night on the offensive end and take things away from you when you are on offense. So I imagine they get back in alignment with their game process. Like I said, I imagine the film session tomorrow is going to be very detailed. There's going to be a lot of accountability kind of being doled out, and no one's going to be absolved of that, Nate included, coaching staff included. And I imagine they all come into the game on Friday in New York with a individual chip on each of their shoulders, but a comprehensive chip where they're going to be trying to kind of get their lick back in multiple respects, no different than Atlanta did with following up their first game out of the All-Star break with getting a win tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think, yes, to what you just said about specifically the last part with the Dream, getting their lick back after their first loss after the All-Star break, and the Mercury can definitely have an opportunity to do the same thing versus the New York Liberty on Friday. And not that this is the exact same situation with the back-to-back, but traveling to New York is no easy feat. Traveling from Vegas to Phoenix is way, way easier than traveling from Phoenix to New York. Not to say that, like, it's any, the Dream had a terrible schedule coming out of the All-Star break, and that's not me negating that at all, but it definitely is a tough go round for the Mercury right now. So especially considering obviously there's a video floating around, my guy David Veenstra posted of Satu leaving with the ice on her foot. Like, you hate to see it. So definitely going to be a fun game for the Mercury. And to Holmes' point in the comments, we got to be better with JJ back. Huge point there, because in the last 2 games that the Mercury have played versus the Liberty, I guess in the first one she played the first 7-8 minutes, I guess. And then after that, she was out the rest of the game. And then that second game, she didn't play at all. But y'all know my opinion on JJ. She's an MVP caliber player. She doesn't get talked enough as one of the greatest post players of the league right now. I really believe that. She's a 3-level scorer anywhere she wants to be on the court. Like, she can really do it all. And so, with JJ being back for the Liberty, I think it's a good test for the Mercury, especially, after the type of matchup we just saw them kind of fumble versus the Dream. I think I can't picture anyone other than the Dream or the Liberty to be a better follow-up to the Dream game we just watched.
My rebuttal to that is also that, yes, the Mercury have to be more prepared for a JJ rendition of the New York Liberty. But on the same side, New York has to be prepared for a Kalia Copper version of the Mercury that they just haven't seen. And also one that's also coming in tandem with Dewana Bonner and Lexi Hill, because Lexi wasn't available in that second game that they played. So it's very much both sides kind of seeing each other as close to healthy as they've seen each other all season long. Obviously, we hope that Monique is back for Friday's game. Like I said, she's been going through individual workouts at practice throughout the week. Hopefully that's a sign that she's going in the right direction. But you would like for the team to be healthy and whole in the second game post All-Star break as they embark on a 5-game East Coast road trip. So remains to be seen on that part. But again, Phoenix is looking at it as it's all about them. If they go in and do their job on the defensive end, first, second, and third, everything else will take care of itself, including the final result.
Well, I know you got a couple more videos that I want to let us get to before we get out of here. So without further ado, I guess I'll let you take it away for the last couple clips here.
Yeah, there's gonna be DeWanna Bonner speaking to obviously having her longtime teammates Diana Taurasi and Penny Taylor sitting courtside, as well as also kind of bringing back and talking about seeing Brittney Griner and her return to Phoenix. So here's DB kind of speaking to the multiple reunions that took place in tonight's game.
Yeah, I don't think I see it as a distraction, not to me personally. Of course, Breezy, we've been playing with her for a lot of years, and it was good to see her. But it was BG's, welcome home night, so that was huge. But it's an honor to have me and Penny come back and see us play, and we always want to try to put on a good show because, we wouldn't be here without them. So I don't know if it's a distraction, but at the same time, I feel like it's a little bit of motivation for me and everybody. This is something they built, and we're just trying to continue it on, continue the legacy.
This is something that they built, and we just want to try and continue the legacy. I think that it is different coming from DeWanna because DeWanna is someone that plays significant roles in the culture that is established. And for her to also kind of full circle as her career took its course, come back after Diana has retired, and to be kind of the last standing pillar of that identity, that championship culture that they established way back in the early and mid 2000s. It's really cool to hear her kind of reminisce and speak on that while being an active participant in this new era as they try to set a new tone for the franchise going forward. Very kind of poetic in terms of a basketball sense of how her career has gone for it to come while Diana was here initially in her prime, and then also coming without Diana on the back end of DeWanna's career. Very cool to kind of hear and see DeWanna, speak to Diana, as well as BG and Penny being here today. Last clip we got is going to be Satu. I asked her about the offense and how she felt, what kind of went into that, knowing the numbers that I brought about potential assists and total passes. Her answer was on topic, but had nothing to do with the offense itself. And here's what she had to say about it.
Defense. That's where it started. Our offense can't influence our defense, and probably really did in the first quarter. And coach spoke to us. I feel like we just need to get more touches, more passes. We seemed a little rusty, but I'm not worried about that.
More touches, more passes. We talked about 242 passes in today's game. They're seventh fewest so far this season. In addition to that, the movement, the lack thereof. We talk about that pocket in the fourth quarter that Kalia Copper had. You get a little bit of movement, you see the results. In addition to that, those scoring moments in the early fourth quarter for Kalia, we also saw multiple three-point makes for both DeWanna Bonner and Sammy Wickham, all of which coming off of movement. I think they tweaked the usage of Allisha Thomas in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. She played a lot more out of the kind of mid-post and out of the low post. And she was able to find some success with the way that Atlanta was defending her when she was in the post, just kind of finding an opportunity for skip passes. She hit DeWanna Bonner specifically on 2 skip passes. It was funny. Having on back-to-back possessions, one time AT's on the left block, she skips it to the right corner, DB knocks down the 3, and then it's just role reversal. They flip sides of the court, basically the same play, same type of defense, and they get the exact same type of result from opposite sides of the court for Allisha on the skip to DeWanna. They have to find those pockets earlier in games, though. It feels like they're still, like I said, learning about themselves, especially on the offensive side of the floor. This one felt a little similar to what we saw in those kind of series-style performances against Dallas, where Dallas is playing in a certain type of way. They're kind of slow to react to it. They get to the second game against Dallas, and the process is so much better. This felt like the second half. They kind of sped that up a little bit, but you got to get there a little bit sooner than the fourth quarter for that part. Like Nate spoke to, they didn't really wake up until about 5 minutes left. You got to be better with that. I imagine they set a much better tone to start the road trip, and they kind of try to bury this game as far back behind them as they possibly can because they play Atlanta 2 more times within the next 2.5 weeks. And this Atlanta team was one that was operating without their best player well, I guess going into the season, Ryan was the best player. Allisha Gray has had she's had a different feel to her. She had different plans. And it's definitely been her as the best player this season. But generally speaking, their franchise player is Rhyne Howard. They did not have her in this game. I feel like she's day-to-day at this point. She's kind of progressed from her injury that she sustained right before the All-Star break. She'll probably be back by the next time they go against them. And that's going to add another layer to a team that, like you said, takes and makes a whole lot of threes, and that comes off of the attention that their post players get.
Well, I want to give you a chance to give a quick prediction about Friday's game. But before we do that, we do got to get to these super chats because BComC clearly I fear will be angry at me if I don't get to them. And so this first one, I'm going to not lie. All of them are kind of head scratchers, so bear with us, folks. But for $5, and I'm not sure we can show that on the screen, Kevin.
For $5, BComC clearly let us into their dating life a little bit, I'll say. And we stay strong with you, BComC clearly. We appreciate you. And then for $2, another super chat. Cutesy legs, show them legs.
Yeah, he wants to see them knees, boy. And then
I
when
ain't
I
got no
watch
legs,
the
no
fever,
legs
I
for
get
you
a
today.
fever. Bums. Man, I feel like I'm about to get really ducked on for these super chats, but it's okay. Fever equals that drunk uncle talking politics. Smoke. I feel like I'm about to get some comments and I'm not ready. But it's okay.
Be calm. Got to take their own advice and be calm when that game comes up against Indiana on this 5-game road trip. Because Caitlin probably going to be back for that one. You know how rowdy those Indiana crowds get. And you also know how much they dislike both DeWanna and Allisha. And I imagine that AT and DB, after they swept them in the playoffs last season, are going to want to go back into Gamebridge and pick up where they left off in the playoffs last season. But excuse me, they didn't sweep them. It went 3, but you know what I'm getting at. They very much put their stamp on things in that series, handled business very professionally, and then went on about their business going to the next round. I imagine they want to pick up right where they left off with that, but also Nate Tibbetts and company did not have the best showings against the Indiana Fever last season as well. So you have the individual faction of AT and DB in addition to Nate and company from last season looking to really kind of turn the ties up against a team that was kind of a thorn in their sides last season. That's going to be a fun matchup, but back to the original point, be calm. Make sure you are calm when that game comes around because there inevitably will be multiple reasons to get rowdy.
It's okay. BCom already sent us another super chat, but I'm going to save that one until after we give these Liberty.
Shout out, Be Calm. We
so
appreciate
funny.
you.
I can't. Okay. The Phoenix Mercury will be headed to play the New York Liberty on Friday. The Mercury have won 2 of their 3 matchups, if I'm not mistaken. And so now at this point, the Liberty either have a chance to tie the series or the Mercury have a chance to just plain win the series on this trip here. So what do you think happens on Friday? And maybe I'm wrong. Have they only played twice and I'm just crazy?
Yep.
I'm so sorry.
2-0.
Okay, 1-1. So they have a chance to either take...
No. It's 2-0.
Oh. Dang. I'm sorry. The rest is coming out right now.
First game they won on the second game of that long road trip, and then they came back to Phoenix a week later, and Sammy decided to make all of the threes that she decided to attempt.
All of them. Every single one.
Every last one of them, yeah. So it's 2-0 Phoenix. I think they go, especially stemming from tonight's performance, they go to look to meet the resistance that New York is going to try to bring to the party and go and handle their business and set a tone for this 5-game road trip. I think it's going to be another one of those kind of game of the year type of environments, another playoff style environment. Both teams kind of trying to send a message both to themselves and the rest of the league. And I think that Phoenix, especially because of how tonight's game went, they're going to be looking to go out and just kind of be better than themselves more than their opponents. And I think that's naturally going to lead to a win. I think Kalia is going to go and have a performance to be noteworthy as she kind of knocks the rust off. She's going to give a different type of feel for the Mercury against this Liberty team that they haven't quite seen yet. And I also think AT is going to have another one of those MVP and Defensive Player of the Year styles of performances. Something about going up against another elite level forward brings out the best in AT. And, needless to say, I think she's going to have another one of those type of performances.
Well, I hope that's the case. I hope for a big game from Clea Copper. Honestly, I hope Monique McConaughey's back and we finally get to see this full team be a full team. I think it would be a really fun game to watch them come, out full health versus a team like the New York Liberty. So I'm really excited for this game. I think the Mercury will end up with the dub. I think to your point, like after a showing like this against a team that you probably know you can beat on a better night, will lead to a better performance from the Mercury in a couple more, or in just a few days. But I do have to tell you what was making me laugh so hard from BComC clearly, and honestly made Kevin bust out laughing. My man says for $2, ugh, I wish Steven was single. And I actually am assuming BComC clearly gender. They said I wish Steven was single. So yeah, that is it made my day. Won't even lie. That was very funny. And then also, he says, the Fever act how Nicki Minaj acts now. Bums. Man, y'all really want me to just be publicly, for money, be talking crap about the Fever right now. And I really need to not be doing that. Like, please, guys, I'm begging. No more super chats about the Fever being bums. I'm begging. But super chat about anything else.
That's a hilarious super chat comparing present day Indiana Fever to present day Nicki Minaj. But
yeah,
points were made for sure for multiple reasons, and I'll leave that alone after that.
Hey now, brother, not too much on SZA, okay? My man just said who's SZA.
No, I meant like which NBA team, like or WNBA team.
Oh,
we're making the comparison.
Who's SZA, Steven?
No comment. No comment at all.
All right, one more super chat from BComC clearly, and my person says $2. No, it's Indiana. They don't even love themselves. Man, tough. I'm done talking about the Indiana Fever. So please, no more. $2. Can we talk about the Storm or something? Like I hear the Valkyries are coming to town sometime soon. Maybe we should talk about them. The Julie Van Lowe cut. It's just terrible. It's crazy. I don't know. Please, no more shit. I just can't. Please, no more. Anyways, Steven, anything else from you today on this fine Wednesday evening? I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, I think a game like tonight is a reason why a presence like DeWanna Bonner is needed, because the options that she gives Nate unlocks for them in terms of being able to play different styles across multiple lineups, across multiple lineup combinations. In addition to that, it's going to really help them, especially on this road trip, as, again, knock on wood, Monique Cole-McConaughey is available for this team come Friday, and they can kind of start compiling some games comprehensively together with one another. DB is going to play a significant portion in terms of role for this team. Don't think she starts, but I think there will be games where she closes. I'm very intrigued by the lineups where she's on the court with both Satu Sabally and Kalia Copper, whether it's just one of those two or both of those two. I think that the ways in which they can go about operating on both ends of the court with the size and athleticism and IQ that those three players have, I feel like it's going to show its worth on this road trip. And other big thing for me, I did a film session on it that came out today if you didn't have a chance to check it out, looking at Allisha Thomas and Sammy Wickham working in dribble handoff situations. They flow into it in a multitude of ways. Sometimes it's AT initiating the offense. Sometimes it's action breaks down on the primary side. They get to the second side, and now it's those two getting into a dribble handoff in the empty corner. Sometimes it's not even Allisha or Sammy being on the ball, and it's Allisha and her ability as a connector to get the ball on the perimeter from a skip pass or a swing pass, and Sammy just immediately runs directly at her, and it opens up opportunities for them to kind of create new advantage. There's a lot of ways in which it's effective, but generally speaking, whenever Allisha is getting into handoff situations with Sammy, it's been one of the most efficient and effective actions across the entire WNBA this season. And in terms of handoffs coming into tonight's game, they had the most by far. I think they had 111 exchanges with that. That was 11 more than second place, which was Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. So you want to make sure you keep an eye out on that going forward. One of the games that it popped most was last time they were in New York, where Sammy and AT were just getting into it, and it was just sending the New York Liberty defense in a frenzy. Want to keep an eye out on that going forward. I think they maybe didn't get into it as much as they wanted to in tonight's game, which again speaks to the lack of movement, both in player movement and passes. They get back in alignment there in addition to finding it for Kalia as well as with Satu. I think they'll be in a good place on offense. And all of that, again, stemming from the defense. So keep an eye out on that. If you didn't get a chance to watch that yet, that is up on YouTube. You can watch that at any time between today and Friday's game, and it'll still be relevant as far as what's going on. 26 minutes for general public, 33 minutes in total for those that are diehard members. So like we said, become a diehard. We are giving you all exclusive content in unique ways that no one else is giving it to you. You want to learn more about the intricacies of what's going on with Sammy and Allisha? We got you covered there. Check that out. And feel free to leave a comment or at me on Twitter and continue on the conversation with anything that catches your eye or any other questions that you might have.
Yeah, you got to follow him on Twitter at StephenPG3. Follow us both together on Twitter at PHNX_Mercury. But he did some great work today live from the arena. I really appreciate you popping in. I was rambling a little much, so I appreciate you putting a stop to everyone's misery and letting me stop talking for just a few minutes. I really appreciate that.
We were talking about margaritas, Steven. We were talking about margaritas.
Hold on. We can improve the timing if the Wi-Fi improves. That's another.
I tried. I sent the message. I did try. To be fair,
I believe it, but we just haven't seen it. We haven't seen it change.
Should I send an email?
That. At this point, we need to just have Big Matt on the podcast. Honestly,
maybe a LinkedIn notification will work.
Maybe that'll work. I doubt he checks that either. But yeah, we improved the Wi-Fi. We can kind of get the timing together on it, but we're working through it for sure. We'll be better for the next one.
I'll slow us down a little bit next time, so that way there's not so much gap room here. Because I felt like I jumped the gun a little bit. So that's my bad, not your bad. So, anyways, though, thanks for joining us today. We really, really appreciate you. Couldn't have done it without you. So, without further ado, it's just gonna be me on the screen for a few minutes. The Wi-Fi is thirsty, Melissa. That is true. Hello, I'm Erica, the host of the show. And I'm just going to be super honest here for a few minutes. Before we close, I just kind of wanted to speak directly to you guys. I obviously have been absent from the pod and also Twitter for the last 3 weeks, and that hasn't been for no reason. I do apologize for my slow talking right now. I'm just incredibly nervous, but I just want to say that, first of all, a few weeks ago, some tweets of mine from 2012, 2013, and 2014 resurfaced. I'm not proud of them. I don't feel like they reflect who I am today. But above all else, I'm just extremely embarrassed. I cannot say that enough. I spoke to a few of the diehards today at the game. I will continue to speak with whoever wants to speak with me about this. But I just wanted to be really straight up and honest with you guys, because at the end of the day, like, I do this because I love the league. I don't do this for money. I don't do this for notoriety. I never, ever in a million years thought I would be in this position. And I always joke with everyone around that I really lucked into this position. And that's the truth. I lucked into this. And I am very lucky and blessed to be able to do this for fun. I'm very lucky to even be able to be in a position to be able to do something like this for fun. And so I just wanted to, you guys that are still watching almost 2 hours in, like, you're obviously here because you know me and Steven. And like, I want to make it very, very clear that those tweets, if you do see them, they are not a reflection of who I am or how I feel about people today. The person you see before you. And so, I hope that you see that I do always try to lead with love. And that is, like, really my number one intention in all of this, is just that, like, you guys understand that, like, I never in a million years thought that I would be in this position. I never in a million years thought I would ever have to make some sort of public statement about something I said when I was 13 years old. But here I am. And so I just wanted you guys to know that if you do see that and you do want to talk to me, you do want to have a conversation with me, my DMs are open. If you're a diehard, you know how to get a hold of me on Discord. I've really tried to be really responsive, especially to the diehards. So I just want you guys to all know that my DMs are open. We can have any kind of conversation you want to have. And I just really wanted to be open and honest with you. I did do some training things for PHNX to return, but at the end of the day, like, no training is going to teach me who I am as a person, and who I am as a person is not reflected in those tweets. And so I just wanted to make that very, very, very clear. If you're a diehard, you know how I feel about all of you. I cried telling you all of this at the game today. So I want all of you to know that, like, I am so sorry that you're even like looking at your screen right now and we're having this conversation. So, we will be back next week on Monday and Wednesday with our regularly scheduled programming. I will be back on Twitter this week, but I just wanted you guys to know what was going on. Again, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me via DMs, Discord. Some of you have my phone number. Call me, beat me. If you want to reach me, you know how to find me. So I just thank you all so much for watching. If you are still watching this pod right now, thanks for watching nearly 2 hours of Steven and I to talk about basketball. I really, really, really can't express how much you guys mean to me. So thank you, and I will see you next week.
We all silly like the mayor.